Hi, I'm Barry Sahajian. This video tutorial is Introduction to Jazz Bass Soloing. Now, if you like these videos, please subscribe and hit the bell. I could really use the help so I can continue on making these videos. I've been making more twice a week now, and this one I feel there's a lot of interest in. When I was in my beginning stages of bass playing, there came a point that I wanted to play a solo. I was very good at playing grooves and playing on chord changes with triads and scales and root and fifth lines, but when it came to soloing, I came up short. Really didn't know what to do. So at first what I would do is I would play a one-note solo. That was easy enough. All I had to deal with was the root. I'd just play it with a lot of rhythm, and people liked it. I played it with a lot of feeling. I played it for like 2 minutes, one note, over and something like that, probably a little more feeling. You know, on a dance floor, I had to keep the time and everything like that. It was dance nightclub gigs. Anyway, so what I did was I wanted to play bad, so I studied. I was in Boston. There was plenty of great teachers around, so I figured I had to go for jazz to really learn how to improvise. So I found a great teacher, pretty famous. His name is Jerry Bergonzi, and he got me started. And the first thing he did to get me started with, and right away I could play, and it was beautiful. It was such an easy thing to do. And you know, I don't know about you people out there who are interested in soloing, but as you learn to solo, you realize it isn't all that complicated. It's really more simplicity than you think. And I used to think, oh, soloing, all those complicated scales and everything, but it is not that at all. You know, it's just subtle little changes that give you the tension and release. Like for instance, I'm going to do this based on contemporary music and rock, even though it is jazz. I'm just using the jazz, the elements of improvisation, which can basically be played anywhere. It doesn't necessarily mean, because I'm giving you elements of jazz, that you have to play jazz, although it wouldn't be a bad idea. I love playing jazz and I got deep into it, but at the same time I play funk and slap and everything else too as well. So even if you have no interest in going into pure jazz, the jazz elements still work very well. So the first thing he showed me was approach notes. They're kind of notes that approach the chord tones. And since I've been working with triads up until now, I'm going to stick with triads, and a minor pentatonic scale, and it'll be a G minor pentatonic. So you take that, the G minor pentatonic, which is 1, flat 3, 4, 5, and flat 7, and you try to play a solo on it. So now that sounds all too straight and straightforward sounding. So what are we going to do to make that sound jazzy? One of the first things I want to show you is the approach note to the fifth. Just that one note will change the whole flavor of this, and it starts to sound jazzy. I'm only going to do one note. Watch it. So now see how much more jazzy that sounded, just that one note. Of course, you need to add a little bit of phrasing and everything for a beginner, though. However, you could start out gently. You know, you have your flat 5. Find that flat 5. would be the first stage, that flat 5. You can do a lot with that. Not only, so let's take a listen to what it sounds like, this minor pentatonic using the flat 5, and we'll use it on a G 7th chord. That works pretty good. Now, you may have noticed that I'm using the flat 5 going to the 5, but a couple of spots in the other examples I just played, I was using the flat 5 going down to the 4, which is a very nice sound as well. So we have the same note, two functions. So it sounds a little bit like the... Okay, I'm going to give you a little lick. I know I've been all over the place, but I'm just trying to illustrate how it sounds and how nice it can sound. And by the way, as far as you practicing these, I'm going to have some play-along examples on my Patreon and my website you can use. But for the most part, I think it's most beneficial if you just learn where the notes are. Pentatonic scale, and then you know where your flat 5 is and you can slide up to it. Now we're going to slide down to the 4th, which is still a nice sound, as opposed to... There's one for you. So that's two examples you can use just from the flat 5, and we can go even a step further, but I don't want to do that today. But in bebop, they kind of compound it. I'll show you a little illustration of that. They would go something like you have your flat 5, then they would go a step above the 5th, and then down to the 5th. That's a very common line all over the place in bebop and jazz, but that's more of a traditional type thing. And like I said, I'm going to go there a little bit, but I know that bebop is kind of in the past a little bit. I still love it, but most of the people that are interested in these YouTube examples, they're looking for things they can use in blues and rock and everything. And I want to accommodate them, but there's going to be a point where I go to pure jazz as well. But anyway, they would go. So they kind of go from below and above the target note. And that's a step further, but I just wanted to point that out to you, how that works. So I think you should practice these by just taking, maybe 3 notes or something, and playing around with them yourself, and just trying to play them in time and get them to feel nice. And the whole idea of this lesson is to be spontaneous, as opposed to me showing you a bunch of licks and you learn the licks, and that works as well. But to know the components of this sound, and then you invent things is the best feel. I mean, to play something else, a rehearsed lick or a preconceived lick, just doesn't feel the same as knowing what you're doing and just ripping it out off the top of your head. Spontaneous creation. Yeah, and that's in jazz, that's in blues, that's in a lot of places. and it feels great, and you will appreciate it. So